Hello everyone, my name is Mariam Abdelmajid and I am from Iraq, Baghdad and Muslim University. Today I'm going to read from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows from pages 410 till pages 417. Those of us who understand these matters, however, recognize that the ancient story refers to three objects or hallows, which if united will make the possessor master of death. There was a short silence in which Xenophilius glanced out of the window. Already the sun was low in the sky. Luna ought to have enough glimpse soon, he said quietly. When you say master of death, said Ron. Master, said Xenophilius, waving in an airy hand. Conqueror, vanquisher, whichever term you prefer. But then, do you mean, said Hermione slowly, and Harry could tell that she was trying to keep any trace of skepticism out of her voice, that you believe these objects, these hallows, actually exist? Xenophilius raised his eyebrows again. Well, of course. But, said Hermione, and Harry could hear her restraint starting to crack. Mr. Lovegood, how can you possibly believe? Luna has told me all about you, young lady, said Xenophilius. You are, I gather, not unintelligent, but painfully limited, narrow, close-minded. Perhaps you ought to try the hat, Hermione, said Ron, nodding toward the ludicrous headdress. His voice shook with the strain of not laughing. Mr. Lovegood, Hermione began again. We all know that there are such things as invisibility cloaks. They are rare, but they exist. But the third hallow is a true cloak of invisibility, Miss Granger. I mean to say, it is not a traveling cloak imbued with a disillusionment charm, or carrying a bedazzling hex, or else woven from demigod hair, which will hide one initially, but fade with the years until it turns opaque. We are talking about a cloak that really and truly renders the wearer completely invisible, and endures eternally, given constant and impenetrable concealment, no matter what spells are cast at it. How many clothes have you ever seen like this, Miss Granger? Hermione opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again, looking more confused than ever. She, Harry, and Ron glanced at one another, and Harry knew that they were all thinking the same thing. It so happened that a cloak exactly like the one Xenophilius had just described was in the room with them at that very moment. Exactly, said Xenophilius, as if he had defeated them all in reason argument. None of you have ever seen such a thing. The possessor would be immeasurably rich, would he not? He glanced out of the window again. The sky was now tinged with the faintest trace of pink. All right, said Hermione, disconcerted. Say the clock existed. What about the stone, Mr. Lovegood? The thing you call the resurrection stone? What of it? Well, how can that be real? Prove that it is not, said Xenophilius. Hermione looked outraged. I'm sorry, but that's completely ridiculous. How can I possibly prove it doesn't exist? Do you expect me to get hold of all the pebbles in the world and test them? I mean, you could claim that anything reals if the only basis for believing in it is that nobody is proof it doesn't exist. Yes, you could, said Xenophilius. I'm glad to see that you are opening your mind a little. So the elder one, said Harry quite quickly, before Hermione could retort. You think that exists too? Oh, well, in that case, there is endless evidence, said Xenophilius. The elder one is the hallow that is most easily traced, because of the way in which it passes from hand to hand. Which is what? asked Harry. Which is that the possessor of the wand must capture it from its previous owner, if he is to be truly master of it, said Xenophilius. Surely you have heard of the way the wand came to Epigrith the egregious after his slaughter of Emeric the evil, of how Godlet died in his own cellar after his son, Hereward, took the wand from him, of the dreadful Loxias, who took the wand from Barnabas Deverell, whom he had killed. The bloody trail of the elder one is plotted across the pages of Wizarding history. Harry glanced at Hermione. She was frowning at Xenophilius, but she did not contradict him. So where do you think the elder one is now? Asked Ron. Alice, who knows? Said Xenophilius, as he gazed out of the window. Who knows where the elder one lies hidden? The tray goes cold with Arachus and Livius. Who can say which of them really defeated Loxias, and which took the wand? And who can say who may have defeated them? History, Alice, does not tell us. There was a pause. Finally Hermione asked stiffly, Mr. Lovegood, does the Peveril family have anything to do with the Deathly Hallows? Xenophilius looked taken aback as something shifted in Harry's memory, but he could not locate it. Peveril, he had heard that name before. But you have been misleading me, young woman, said Xenophilius, now sitting up much straighter in his chair and goggling at Hermione. I thought you were new to the Hallows quest. Many of us questers believe that the Peverils have everything to do with the Hallows. Who are the Peverils? Asked Ron. That was the name on the grave which the mark on it in Godric's Hallow, said Hermione, still watching Xenophilius. Ignotus Peveril. Exactly, said Xenophilius, his forefinger raised pedantically. The sign of the Deathly Hallows on Ignotus' grave is a conclusive proof. Of what? Asked Ron. Why, that the three brothers in the story were actually the three Peveril brothers, Antioch, Cadmus, and Ignotus, that they were the original owners of the Hallows. With another glance at the window, he got to his feet, picked up the tray, and headed for the spiral staircase. You will stay for dinner? He called, as he vanished downstairs again. Everybody always requests our recipe for freshwater plumpy soup. Probably to show the poisoning department in St. Montangos, said Ron under his breath. Harry waited until they could hear Xenophilius moving about in the kitchen downstairs before speaking. What do you think? He asked Hermione. Oh, Harry, she said wearily, it's a pile of utter rubbish. This can't be what the sign really means. This must just be his weird take on it. What a waste of time. I suppose this is the man who bought us Crumplehorn Snorkax, said Ron. You don't believe it either? Harry asked him. Nah, that story just one of these things you tell kids to teach them lessons, isn't it? Don't go looking for trouble. Don't pick fights. Don't go messing around with the stuff that's best left alone. Just keep your head down, mind your own business, and you will be okay. Come to think of it, Ron added, maybe that story is why elder ones are supposed to be unlucky. What are you talking about? One of those superstitions, isn't it? Mayborn witches will marry muggles, jinxed by twilight, undone by midnight, wand of elder never prosper. You must have heard of them. My mom's full of them. Harry and I were raised by muggles, Hermione reminded him. We were taught different superstitions. She sighed deeply as a rather pungent smell drifted up from the kitchen. The one good thing about her exasperation with Xenophilius was that it seemed to have made her forget that she was annoyed at Ron. "I think you are right," she told him. "It's just a morality tale. It's obvious which gift is best, which one you would choose." The three of them spoke at the same time. Hermione said, "The clock." Ron said, "The wand." And Harry said, "The stone." They looked at each other, half surprised, half amused. "You're supposed to say the clock," Ron told Hermione. But you wouldn't need it. But you wouldn't need to be invisible if you had the wand. An unbeatable wand. Hermione, come on." "We've already got an invisibility cloak," said Harry, "and it's helped us rather a lot." "In case you hadn't noticed," said Hermione. "Whereas the wand would be bound to attract trouble." "Only if you shouted about it," argued Ron. "Only if you were proud enough to go dancing around, waving at your head and singing, 'I've got an unbeatable wand. Come on and have a go if you think you are hard enough, as long as you kept your trap shut.'" "Yes, but could you keep your trap shut?" said Hermione, looking skeptical. "You know, the only true thing he said to us, that there have been stories about extra powerful wands for hundreds of years." "There have?" asked Harry. Hermione looked exasperated. The expression was so endearingly familiar that Harry and Ron grinned at each other. "The Death Stick, the Wand of Destiny. They crop up under different names, though the sentry is usually in the possession of some dark wizard who is boasting about them. Professor Binns mentioned some of them, but, oh, it's all nonsense. Wands are only as powerful as the wizards who use them. Some wizards just like to boast that theirs are bigger and better than other people's." "But how do you know," said Harry, "that those wands, the Death Stick and the Wand of Destiny, aren't the same wand, surfing over the centuries under different names?" "What? And they are all really the elder one, made by Death?" said Ron. Harry laughed. The strange idea that had occurred to him was after all ridiculous. His wand, he reminded himself, had been of holy, not elder, and it had been made by Ollivander. Whatever it had done that night, Voldemort had pursued him across the skies, and if it had been unbeatable, how could it have been broken? "So why would you take the stone?" Ron asked him. "Well, if you could bring people back, we could have Sirius, Mad-Eye, Dumbledore, my parents." Neither Ron nor Hermione smiled. "But according to Beedle, the bard, they wouldn't want to come back, wouldn't they?" said Harry, thinking about the tale they had just heard. "I don't suppose there have been loads of other stories about a stone that can rise the dead, have there?" he asked Hermione. "No," she replied sadly. "I don't think anyone except Mr. Lovegood could kill themselves. That's possible. Beedle probably took the idea from the Sorcerer's Stone. You know, instead of a stone to make you immortal, a stone to reverse death." The smell from the kitchen was getting stronger. It was something like burning underpants. Harry wondered whether it would be possible to eat enough of whatever Xenophilius was cooking to spare his feelings. "What about the clock, though?" said Ron slowly. "Don't you realize he's right? I've got so used to Harry's clock and how good it is. I never stop to think. I have never heard of one like Harry's. It's invaluable. We have never been spotted under it." "Of course not. We are invisible when we are under it, Ron." "But all the stuff he said about other clocks, and they are not exactly nut, you know, it's true. It's true. It's never occurred to me before, but I've heard stuff about charms wearing off clocks when they get old, or them being ripped apart by spells so they have got holes in holes in. Harry was owned by his dad, so it's not exactly new. It is, but it's just perfect. Yes, all right, but Ron, the stone. As they argued in whispers, Harry moved around the room, only half listening, reaching the spiral stair. He raised his eyes absently to the next level and was distracted at once. His own face was looking back at him from the ceiling on the room above. After a moment's bewilderment, he realized that it was not a mirror, but a painting. Curious, he began to climb the stairs. Harry, what are you doing? I don't think you should look around when he is not here. But Harry had already reached the next level. Luna had decorated her bedroom ceiling with 5 beautifully painted faces. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, and Neville. They were not moving as the portraits at Hogwarts moved, but there was a certain magic about them all the same. Harry thought they breathed. What appeared to be fine golden chains wove around the pictures, linking them together. But after examining them for a minute or so, Harry realized that the chains were actually one word, repeated 1,000 times in golden ink. Friends, friends, friends. Harry felt a great rush of affection for Luna. He looked around the room. There was a large photograph beside the bed of a young Luna and a woman who looked very like her. They were hugging. Luna looked rather better groomed in this picture than Harry had ever seen her in life. The picture was dusty. This struck Harry as slightly odd. He stared around. Something was wrong. The pale blue carpet was also thick with dust.